Charalampos Kostoulas. Now, there is a name I've been trying to say for the last 5 minutes as I've restarted this video so many times. Charalampos Kostoulas. I don't know why I've said it like that. Greek striker, very, very highly regarded. One of the most highly sought after, up-and-coming young players in Europe, right? We know about this player, and the reason this player is important is because end of April, start of May, we covered him on this channel. And we covered him because there was enough speculation doing the rounds that West Ham were interested in this guy. I can't remember where the original source of the information came from. Certainly it was certainly involved in one of ex-West Ham United employees' updates. You heard it from other people as well, that West Ham was scouting and looking at this guy. Carl MacAulay and Graham Potter, they arrived in January, and as I understand it, MacAulay had spent that time between January and now looking at players to go on the wanted list, which we would ideally work through in this summer transfer window. And Kostoulas was quite high up there. Now, the reason this is important and the reason we're talking about it today is because it looks like Brighton are going to sign him. Now, I don't know if our interest in this player had continued. I don't know if it had stopped and we decided not to bother. It was too much of a risk. I mean, he's very young. I mean, it's time we were scouting him. He was 17, but he was banging in goals, and he looks the real deal anyway, right? He's good. Seems to have it all. He's big, tall, strong, fast, good at finishing, good at passing. Looks like the real deal. But I don't know if we decided not to go with him, and actually it turns out that Lucas Stassin the Assassin, is our top target. But go with me on this if you will. Even if we had wanted to get Kostoulas, we wouldn't have been able to get him now anyway, because what's happening now is indicative and symbolic of the way West Ham have straitjacketed ourselves by this whole policy of having to sell before we can buy. Just to give a little bit of context on this as well, I'm not someone who naturally has a hissy fit over us not signing players early in the transfer window. In fact, it wasn't too long ago I did a facial hair bet with a subscriber who had said we're not going to sign anyone, and I said, look, absolute nonsense. West Ham always sign players. We always sign lots of players. I won't worry about it. We're going to sign lots. I thought we'd sign lots, and we did. We signed 9 players last season. So I'm not predicated to sitting here saying we're not going to sign anyone. And I've not. For years and years and years, I thought, actually, we sometimes sign too many players. Sometimes we sign the wrong players, and sometimes a fool and his money are easily parted. But one thing we do is sign players. This feels different. It feels different now. We are hearing far more about the club having to be self-sufficient now. And if you just imagine for a moment that West Ham had been interested in Kostoulas, there would have been nothing we could do about this right now, because Brighton have come along and they've signed him, or they're signing him. They're going to sign him at £30 million. I think if they haven't done it by today, technically they're going to have to wait until next week, because the transfer window opened for 10 days. It closes now, and then it opens again. I think it's on Monday. So maybe they just have the agreement in principle, and they'll sign the registration on Monday. But West Ham could do nothing about it, because we have this policy of now we have to sell before we can buy. Now, as I mentioned in yesterday's video, it doesn't have to be that way. It really doesn't. There is absolutely... I'm not going to repeat what I said yesterday. Go and look at yesterday's video if you feel the need to. But there is a way that shareholders or investors can make some money available now, and then it can be paid back. There's a number of things we can do. But this whole sustainability model, and I'm not talking about PSR here, I'm not talking about an overview of football as a whole. I'm talking about West Ham's self-inflicted sustainability is hindering us. And I know it's early in the winter, but I made sure, I went and had a look. Who actually has done business so far? I thought, you know what? Am I worrying about nothing? Has nobody done any business? And when I looked, over half the Premier League clubs have brought somebody in already. And most have brought in more than one player. West Ham aren't the only club who have brought in nobody. In fact, we have brought in somebody. It's Jean-Claude Todibo. It doesn't count, right? It's not a new player. You get what I'm saying? But we seem to be so handcuffed by our own self-imposed set of rules that we're going to be losing out. And I will repeat something that I said yesterday, which is I cannot believe that somebody in Graham Potter, who's got no blame for this transfer window, by the way, that somebody in Graham Potter who negotiated so hard for his contract would have negotiated hard to have funds available for his first real proper transfer window. Obviously came in the middle of January, but there wasn't really enough time for him to assess and sign anybody aside from Evan Ferguson as a loan signing. This is really, really important. We do not have the type of manager that can come in and get the best out of the players that he just finds himself with. There are a number of those managers. Graham Potter isn't one of them. We've seen that. Graham Potter needs the squad to be built around his ethos, around his mantra, around what he's looking to do, around his style of football. We need to bring players in to allow him to do that. And this is entirely why I have been very, very concerned about this transfer window. And not concerned about the last one. Not at all. We had money to spend. It was clear we were going to spend it. There was an intention and an inclination to spend it. We had Tim Stight in there. We brought in Lopetegui. We were spending money like a drunken sailor. That was what was happening. It's not just the vibe of last summer, 12 months ago. That was what was happening. This has a very, very different feel about it. A very different feel. And there is no way that you can look at the business deals that are being done. If you just go and check it on Google now, go and have a look at the deals that have been done. There's no way you can look at that and then look at West Ham's inactivity and come up with a summary that's anything other than West Ham are falling behind. And massively falling behind from our rivals who are signing players. And it's almost like we're operating under this illusion that that's all right, we'll go and get our targets later on. When the money comes in, when we sell Kudus, when we sell a Gerd, or when we sell any of these players, we'll go and get our targets then. But if this has proved anything, it is that in the example of Kostoulas, that one of our transfer targets, we're one down already. I'd imagine we're more than that. Because other clubs, Brighton aren't going to wait around, and it's not like a race where everybody's waiting for the starters' orders, the starters' gun. Well, we've had the starters' gun. It was 10 days ago. No one's going to wait around and say, we'll just wait until West Ham has sold their players and then it's a fair fight and then we can go and sign them. No, this is a ruthless industry. Everybody is looking to try and get ahead of the others. And these clubs were already ahead of West Ham. Brighton are already ahead. And they're strengthening again. And I'm not going to go through the list of the Premier League clubs that are above us and ahead of us because there are 13 of them, right? And let's be fair, you would really have to be the ultimate optimist at the moment to work on the assumption that Tottenham and Manchester United will be as low down and as bad as they were last season. I don't think they will. There's a possibility we will. So when you start to factor that in, and then you factor in that because of, as I say, this it's like a self-imposed punishment. It's weird. It's weird that it's happening. The club have a self-imposed policy which is hindering us and is making us drop behind. When you look at last season's table, you look at last season's results, and you look at the teams in the Premier League for next season, there's not too many places that we can actually drop down before we are in serious trouble. Yet the messaging keeps coming out. We need to sell before we can buy. If it was just a message, I don't mind it because I think that's okay as a negotiating tactic. That's okay. Why would you go into any haggle, any negotiation. Saying, I've got loads of money, I'll pay. You wouldn't do that. So I don't mind it as a tactic. I just don't feel it is a tactic anymore. I think now it is a mantra. Now I think it is a rule. Now I do think it's almost a mandated thing where basically we will not buy before we sell players. And the trouble is at the moment, no one's buying our players.